Okay, so now let's do a little bit more in-depth explanation. So we'll just do a little, SAT ASMR together. This way it's easier for you to follow along, even if you're not watching and you're just listening in another tab. Okay, number 18. Several artworks found among the ruins of the ancient Roman city of Pompeii depict a female figure fishing with a cupid nearby. Some scholars have asserted that the figure is the goddess Venus, since she is known to have been linked with cupids in Roman culture, but University of Leicester archaeologist Carla Brain suggests that cupids may have also been associated with fishing generally. The fact that a cupid is shown near the female figure, therefore, okay, I would say A is not conclusive evidence, so that doesn't mean it's not, but it doesn't mean that it is, so it's inconclusive. 19. Literary agents estimate that more than half of all nonfiction books credited to a celebrity or other public figure are in fact written by ghostwriters, professional authors who are paid to write other blank, but whose names never appear on book covers. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? So this is interestingly a grammar question. We'll get way more of those in the writing section. Okay. So, other people's stories. So, people is already plural, so it's okay if it has, I'll just go ahead and tell you it's this one. It's okay if it has an apostrophe S, because for those irregular nouns where you're saying person becomes people, there is no need to change the suffix when you're pluralizing it. It's plural regardless of what the S is doing, right? So that's fine. Stories is plural as well because there are multiple stories being written. So we want to make sure that we're talking about many of them. And also there is no possession. So people own the stories. That's why we have the possessive apostrophe S. And for stories, it's not possessing anything. The stories are the possession. So no apostrophe S or similar there. Okay, 20. Like other amphibians, the wood frog, Rana sylvatica, is unable to generate its own heat. So during periods of subfreezing temperatures, it blank by producing large amounts of glucose, a sugar that helps prevent damaging ice from forming inside its cells. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? So again, this is a grammar question. This one is survives because it's a general statement, right? So we already get the wood frog is unable to generate its own heat, so it survives. We're just matching those tenses. It's really, really nice if you already have something in the proper tense that you can just match. I would always look for that. Number 21. After a spate of illnesses as a child, Wilma Rudolph was told she might never walk again. Defying all odds, Rudolph didn't just walk. She blanked the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome. She won both the 100 and 200 meter dashes and clinched first place for her team in the 4x100 meter relay, becoming the first U.S. woman to win 3 gold medals in a single Olympics. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? Okay, so let's see. Rudolph was told that she might never walk again. Defying all odds, she didn't just walk. She ran fast during the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome. Okay, so this one, clearly we want to separate ran and fast for effect. It's just a stylistic choice. So the M dash makes sense here. That's that long dash. We also definitely want to separate these thoughts. So she didn't just walk, she ran fast. And then we know that we want to separate them. So this one's D, because the next sentence is, it starts with this phrase that is dependent on the next phrase. So it starts with phrase A, during the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome. That's the end of the phrase. The second phrase is she won both the 100 and 200 meter dashes and clinched first place, blah, blah, blah. So we know that the second phrase is the complete sentence, right? We have the subject and the predicate. And then this phrase A at the beginning is an incomplete phrase. It's actually something called a gerund phrase. You can tell because it's got this ing verb at the beginning, or ing word at the beginning. During the 1960 Summer Olympics in Rome, what did she do? She won. So it attaches to that verb in the predicate for the full sentence. So that one's 21. 21 is D, is what I meant to say. Okay, 22. In many of her landscape paintings from the 1970s and 1980s, Lebanese-American artist Edel Adnan worked to capture the essence of California's fog-shrouded Mount Tamalpais region through abstraction, using splotches of color to represent the area's features. Interestingly, the triangle representing the mountain itself blank among the few defined features in her paintings. Which choice so we just, again, grammar question. Okay, so interestingly, the triangle representing the mountain itself, blank among, okay, so the triangle is the noun that we're trying to attach to this verb. So this one is because triangle is singular. Easy peasy. 23. Seneca sculptor Marie Watt's blanket art comes in a range of shapes and sizes. In 2004, Watt sewed strips of blankets together to craft a 10 by 13 inch blank. In 2014, she arranged folded blankets into 2 large stacks and then cast them in bronze, creating 2 curving 18-foot tall blue bronze pillars. Again, grammar question. Okay, so again, I'm thinking we got to separate these things. In 2004, Watt sewed strips of blankets together to craft a 10 by 13 inch sampler. Okay, that's what it's called. It's a sampler. That's the noun. And then separately in 2014. So this one is B. They could have put later after the semicolon, but they didn't, so it's fine without it. What the semicolon is going to do is just separate these two full sentences. So they're complete sentences on their own, but we're tying them together so that you can see that they're related ideas. Okay. 24. African-American Percy Julian was a scientist and entrepreneur whose work helped people around the world to see. Named in 1999 as one of the greatest achievements by a U.S. chemist in the past 100 years, blank led to the first mass-produced treatment for glaucoma. So grammar question again. So this one is going to give us a larger section. So let's just see. So named in 1999 as one of the greatest achievements by a U.S. chemist in the past 100 years, we want to name him as the subject because he's the one that was named, not the thing he created or something like that, right? So we want it to say Julian. So A and C are what I'm going to look between. Julian synthesized the alkaloid physostigmine in 1935. It led to the first mass-produced okay, so I like that. But I think the difference here between A and C is that in C, synthesis is the subject, and in A, Julian is, so that's the only one that it could be. So we don't even really need to try the other ones. All right, 25. The Arctic Alpine Botanic Garden in Norway and the Jardim Botanico of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil are 2 of many botanical gardens around the world dedicated to growing diverse plant species, both native and non-native, fostering scientific research, and educating the public about plant conservation. Okay, so grammar question. We already know, because there's a semicolon here in the paragraph, that we're going to need another semicolon because this is an items in a series. Items in a series can use commas unless they have commas within the items. So if they have, I did the laundry, bought apples, bananas, and pears, and folded the laundry when I got home, that would be an items in a series. But if you need to separate apples, bananas, and pears, or whatever I said, you would need to use commas to do that. So the way to differentiate items within items is by using semicolons for the macro items and commas for the micro items. So we want species, comma, both native and non-native, semicolon. So that is B. Okay. because both native and non-native is referring to species. Okay. 26. Sociologist Alton Okinaka sits on the review board tasked with adding new sites to the Hawaii Register of Historic Places, which includes Pi'ilani Hale, Haeau, and the Opeka'a Road Bridge. Okinaka doesn't make such decisions blank, single-handedly. However, all historical designations must be approved by a group of 9 other experts in the fields of architecture, archaeology, history, and Hawaiian culture. Okay, so single-handedly, however. So this one is A. This is because however is modifying the first statement. That's the one that's giving us the thing that we shouldn't believe, right? He doesn't make such decisions single-handedly. So don't think that, right? So we want to make sure that it's tied to the first. We don't want it separated by a semicolon. So we also definitely want punctuation, so it can't be D. And we have to have the semicolon because we have these 2 complete sentences on either side. Okay, 27. In 1968, U.S. Congressman John Coyers introduced a bill to establish a national holiday in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The bill didn't make it to a vote, but Conyers was determined. He teamed up with Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman to be elected to Congress, and they resubmitted the bill every session for the next 15 years. And then blank, in 1983, the bill passed. Okay, this one is finally because the most logical transition, which is what the question asks for, is really related to time, right? How much time did it take? It took a long time. Okay, so we're feeling like this was well overdue. We're going to go with finally. Okay, number 28. Geoscientists have long considered Hawaii's Mauna Loa volcano to be Earth's largest shield volcano by volume, measuring approximately 74,000 cubic kilometers. Blank, we're going to do another transition here. According to a 2020 study by local geoscientist Michael Garcia, Hawaii's Puhahonu shield volcano is slightly larger, boasting a volume of about 148,000 cubic kilometers. I'm just going to go ahead and put my glasses on so I can see these words that I'm unfamiliar with a little better and not have to lean in every time. Forgive me if you are a Native Hawaiian speaker. I hope that you can hit me in the chat with the correct pronunciation if I'm getting it wrong. Okay, so this is a transition question. So Mauna Loa was originally considered to be the largest shield volcano by cubic volume, but then we're supposed to believe that, they found this bigger one, right? And that's confirmed later in the paragraph. So this one's going to be however, because it's the transition word that allows us to think we're going from a belief to a new, more truthful belief, right? Okay. 29. Samuel Coleridge Taylor was a prominent classical music composer from England who toured the U.S. 3 times in the early 1900s. The child of a West African father and an English mother, Coleridge Taylor established his mixed-race ancestry. For example, he referred to himself as Anglo-African. Blank, he incorporated the sounds of traditional African music into his classical music compositions. So we're doing a transition again. So, for example, he referred to himself as Anglo-African. And then so we're going to, because it mentions that he's, creating a connection between his 2 ancestries, at least nominally, we're going to extend that into saying he's also doing this in his music, right? Because he's incorporating African music into classical music. So we're looking for something additive. So we're going to go with in addition. That's the only additive one that we have here. Okay, number 30. In 2019, researcher Patricia Huaro Gonzalez and food historian Nawal Nasrallah prepared a stew from a 4,000-year-old recipe found on the Mesopotamian clay tablet. When they tasted the dish, known as, and I have to lean in again, pasrutum, unwinding, they found that it had a mild taste and inspired a sense of calm. Blank, so transition. The researchers, knowing that dishes were sometimes named after their unintended effects, or I guess intended effects, theorized that the dish's name unwinding referred to its function to help ancient diners relax. Okay, so this one is something where we would say, following this, right? They're using the information from part A to make the determination in part B. So we're going to go with therefore because it's a causal transition word. Okay, number 31. This one's a long one because it's got bullet points, but let's not let that scare us. So it says, while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. We'll go ahead and skip the notes for now. We'll come back. The student wants to emphasize a difference between baking soda and baking powder. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? Okay, so let's check over the notes. Chemical leavening agents cause carbon dioxide to be released within a liquid batter, making the batter rise as it bakes. Baking soda and baking powder are chemical leavening agents, so we can cross off the first two because that's a similarity between them. We're trying to emphasize a difference. Okay, the next note says baking soda is pure sodium bicarbonate. To produce carbon dioxide, baking soda needs to be mixed with liquid and an acidic ingredient such as honey. Baking powder is a mix of sodium bicarbonate and an acid. To produce carbon dioxide, baking powder needs to be mixed with liquid, but not with an acidic ingredient. Okay, so that's the main difference, right? One of them needs to be mixed with an acid. One of them already has the acid in it, so it doesn't need that. But they both have to be mixed with water. So let's look at the acid stuff in the answers. So to make batters rise, bakers use chemical leavening agents. Okay, that's not it. B says baking soda and baking powder are chemical leavening agents that when mixed with other ingredients cause carbon dioxide to be released within a batter. That's not it. Baking soda is pure sodium bicarbonate and honey is a type of acidic ingredient. Okay, it's D. To produce carbon dioxide within a liquid batter, baking soda needs to be mixed with an acidic ingredient, whereas baking powder does not. That's the one. Okay. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. Sue Sunny Park is a Korean-American artist who uses light as her primary medium of expression. She created her work Unwoven Light in 2013. Unwoven Light featured a chain-link fence fitted with iridescent plexiglass tiles. When light passed through the fence, colorful prisms formed. The student wants to describe Unwoven Light to an audience unfamiliar with Sue Sunny Park. Which sentence most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? All right, so we want to primarily be focused on the piece rather than the artist or how it works. So let's find something like that. Okay, A is looking pretty good. Park's 2013 installation Unwoven Light, which included a chain link fence and iridescent tiles made from plexiglass, featured light as its primary medium of expression. Yeah, so B is again focused on the artist, so we'll skip that. C is fine, but it doesn't give us as much as A gives us. Yeah, I like A the best. Because this one could be tricky, right? Because if you're looking at C, it mentions the fence, it mentions the tiles, but it doesn't mention the light, right? So that's why I wouldn't choose C, even though it's primarily about the piece rather than anything else. D, in Unwoven Light, a 2013 work by Korean-American artist Sue Sunny Park, light formed colorful prisms as it passed through a fence Park had fitted with iridescent tiles. Okay, I like this one too. Let's see. Okay, so now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if this is supposed to be the first sentence of the piece, in which case I might like D better. Yeah, I'm going to choose D instead. This is because in Unwoven Light, so they've named it, they've given the date and the artist, and then they describe exactly how it's made, how the light works, and so on. So we've got all the pieces there, but it also has that nice introductory piece. So A would work if it was the second sentence in something, but not the first one. Okay. While researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. This is 33. Okay, we'll skip the notes for now. The student wants to present Tan's research to an audience unfamiliar with Angkor Wat. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? Okay, so let's read the notes. Cambodia's Angkor Wat was built in the 1100s to honor the Hindu god Vishnu. It has been a Buddhist temple since the 16th century. Decorrelation stretch analysis is a novel digital imaging technique that enhances the contrast between colors in a photograph. Archaeologist Noel Hidalgo Tan applied decorrelation stretch analysis to photographs he had taken of Angkor Wat's plaster walls. Tan's analysis revealed hundreds of images unknown to researchers. Okay, so we're trying to present this research to someone who's unfamiliar with Angkor Wat. So, like, very similar to this previous question that we just answered, 32. So we want something that kind of pulls it all together. So this one says, Tan photographed Angkor Wat's plaster walls and then applied decorrelation stretch analysis to the photographs. Okay, that doesn't really tell us much about Angkor Wat. Decorrelation stretch analysis is a novel. Okay, same thing. So between C and D, using a novel digital imaging technique, Tan revealed hundreds of images hidden on the walls of Angkor Wat, a Cambodian temple. Okay, so what we get with this one is a little bit of description of Angkor Wat. We get a Cambodian temple, but we don't really get too much else. So this one is D. Built to honor a Hindu god before becoming a Buddhist temple, Cambodia's Angkor Wat concealed hundreds of images on its plaster walls. And then presumably the next few sentences we'll talk about the rest of it. Okay, we've reached the end of the reading session. So we will complete the next section, the writing, or the next writing section down here tomorrow. Alrighty, bye-bye.